I can also I have a short presentation if that's okay, but I can
Yeah.
also just talk off the cuff, whatever you prefer.
No, if you go to the bottom of your screen, there's a share your screen button,
Yep, I
and
see
just
that.
click on that,
Um,
select the screen you want to share.
all right. Can you see that?
It's
Perfect.
just loading. Yeah, that's
Yep.
perfect. Awesome.
All right. Should I get started?
Yeah, it's all yours.
All right, fantastic. Hi everyone. Good to be here. Thanks for the invite. I'm really excited to share some of the work that we're doing at the World Food Program, specifically around blockchain. Although, as at the Innovation Accelerator, we do a lot more than that. So let me just dive right in, and I'm happy to take some questions at the end if time allows. So a bit of background about what we do at the World Food Program and why does the World Food Program have an innovation accelerator to begin with. If we look at the trends of food insecurity over the last 30 to 40 years, we've made tremendous progress up until very recently. And unfortunately, in the last couple of years, it's the first time in decades that the number of food insecure people is actually going up. And by no surprise to any of you, COVID 19 made matters worse. So, in order for us to achieve zero hunger by 2030, and when I say us, I mean the global community, we have to take a different approach because clearly our current efforts are not enough to keep the downward trajectory to where we need it to be to achieve zero hunger. So the World Food Program is part of this global community that is looking at food insecurity, and our objective as an organization is focused on two dimensions: saving lives and changing lives. Saving lives covers the work that we do in emergencies. So we are the largest humanitarian organization in the world, and we are present in almost every emergency scenario in the developing world. So think about natural disasters, hurricanes, earthquakes, cyclones, conflict zones, droughts, things of that nature. But we also look at the underlying structural issues that drive hunger to begin with, and we do invest in long term development, and that's our changing lives mandate. Ultimately, we want to put ourselves out of work, and we understand in order for us to do that, we need to build resilience in the communities in which we work. The Innovation Accelerator was established 5 years ago to help the World Food Program source, support, and scale high impact innovations to disrupt hunger. As I mentioned a few slides ago, we really need to we need new ideas and new approaches to really accelerate the downward trajectory to reach zero hunger by 2030. So our role as an innovation unit is to catalyze new approaches within WFP, but also more broadly in order to achieve the zero hunger goals that we have set for ourselves through the SDGs. The way we work is quite similar to any other accelerator in the private sector. So at the very beginning, we have the Frontier Innovation function, which is the team that I lead, and we focus here almost exclusively on emerging technologies such as blockchain, AI, robotics, and others. And I'll talk more about our blockchain portfolio in a bit, since that's most relevant to the audience. We have an innovation sourcing function which scours for new ideas and new approaches. And this can be internal, so internal teams can apply for a program as well as external startups. If selected for our program, then you will go through a 5 day experience that we call our Innovation Bootcamp. and you will get hands-on support and training on all the essential ingredients to help your venture thrive. So, human-centered design, lean startup, how to build an MVP, how to build a business model, communication and strategy, and how to pitch your idea to investors. And then, upon completion of the bootcamp, teams are then eligible for our sprint program. And successful teams that get admitted to the program receive $100,000 in equity-free funding and hands-on support from our project managers as well as our network of mentors. But most importantly, each of the teams that go through our accelerator program are connected with our field office so that the testing is done in the relevant context in which we operate. And then last but not least is our scale up enablement program, which is bespoke support for ideas that can really scale and have an impact at scale. In the lower corner, you'll see that we also provide acceleration and innovation support for external organizations such as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and other UN entities like UNFPA and so forth. So we provide our learnings to the entire development community and we support across the entire SDG spectrum. These are our results from last year. We have reached 3.7 million people through the innovations that we directly support, and our portfolio of innovations has raised $118 million of grant funding. Our goal for this year, I believe, is 5.5 million, and we try to increase our scope and impact year on year. This is a static map, but I can share this after my talk. There's a link here with an interactive map of all the innovation and technology projects that we support at the World Food Program. As you can see, a lot of our work is in sub-Saharan Africa, but we also have activities in the Middle East, in Asia, as well as Latin America and the Caribbean. So that's a very, very brief intro to the World Food Program, to the Innovation Accelerator, and the work we do. I'm going to spend the rest of my time talking about blockchain, its relevance to food security and humanitarian assistance, and also share some of the lessons that we've learned in implementing blockchain applications at the World Food Program. The potential use cases in the humanitarian sector are many, from cash and voucher distribution to identity services, supply chain management, community currencies. And we definitely don't do all of it, but we have tried to support startups or internal teams in many of these areas, and I will talk about some of them in the subsequent slides. So the first project I want to talk about is also our longest running blockchain project and the one that is probably the most known in the humanitarian and international development sector. The project is called Building Blocks, and it is the humanitarian sector's largest blockchain-based cash distribution system. So through this system, we are able to distribute vouchers to 1 million people in Syria and in Bangladesh, operating primarily in refugee camps in both of those countries. To date, we have processed over $270 million worth of cash-based transfers through 12 million transactions. And this platform is not intended, obviously, just for WFP's use. The vision here, per the philosophy of blockchain, is to have an entire network of humanitarian organizations use this decentralized platform such that beneficiaries can receive all the assistance they need directly from different organizations into one access point. So streamlining the experience on the beneficiary end, but also saving a lot in costs on the humanitarian organization end. Decapolis is one of the startups that we funded through our Accelerator program. It's a startup that's operating in Jordan and is looking at the traceability of food, specifically the dairy value chain. And the premise here is if dairy farmers in Jordan can produce dairy products at a certain quality and safety standard, then they can receive a higher price for what they produce. And Decapolis essentially enables end-to-end traceability of these products so that farmers can reap the benefits of producing higher quality dairy products. I think this is the last project that I'm going to talk about. It's a collaboration between our internal project called Impact and C Labs that are implementing Cello, which many of you may know, which is a stable coin that has been rolled out in the last couple of years. In this project, what we're doing is through Impact, we're training mostly internally displaced persons as well as refugees, how to conduct digital micro work, so tagging images and some basic data analysis, so that they can receive an income in where they may be and enable employment as long as they have access to a feature phone. But in several instances, receiving payment through the formal financial sector is a challenge. So we are trying to see if we can leverage Cello's stablecoin to enable payment for individuals that are excluded from the formal financial sector. And I just wanted to part with a few areas that we are now moving into. Financial inclusion obviously is an area of utmost importance. So how can we leverage blockchain to increase financial inclusion for the 1.1 billion people who are unbanked? Looking at different beneficiary assistance models that are enabled by the transparency that blockchain offers. Smallholder farmers are a particular interest to us because in many countries in which we operate, the majority of the population is employed in agriculture. So if we can help smallholder farmers increase their livelihoods, then we can help reduce poverty and decrease food insecurity. And then crypto assets, we use as an umbrella term, but we're exploring how WFP can receive crypto assets and how we can disperse crypto assets either to our vendors or maybe potentially one day to our beneficiaries. On the crypto asset front, just a few more words here. We are exploring the opportunity or the potential of establishing a crypto fund. So could we leverage the increased volume and net worth in the crypto space and allow individuals and institutional donors to donate directly to WFP or maybe even directly to beneficiaries? We are in the exploratory phase, looking at the viability, the feasibility, and desirability of establishing a crypto fund, and we hope to have a path forward by the end of this year. What exactly could we do with a crypto fund? There are many opportunities for deployment. On the donor side, obviously receiving funding from institutional donors or from the sale of NFTs. On the operations side, we can use cryptocurrencies to pay vendors or partners or other startups that may be exploring blockchain applications in the international and humanitarian sector. And this is just an illustrative list of potential use cases that may emerge if and when WFP is able to transact in cryptocurrencies. Some lessons we've learned from both our own applications in the blockchain space, but also from the startups that we've supported, as well as the startups that approach us for funding. This might be not a surprise to many of you, but most use cases don't actually need a blockchain. There's been a lot of hype, obviously, around the technology, and there's a lot of interest in deploying blockchain, but in many cases, the use case presented is not actually fit for purpose. So I find that many applications we review, blockchain is itself not necessary. The second lesson learned is that people still struggle to really understand how blockchain really changes the the way that the world is structured, both in terms of how we exchange value, how we share data, and how a decentralized world is quite different than one that where we require central entities for financial or other purposes. Another challenge that we've or lesson learned is that the technology part. So let's say you find the right use case and it's relevant, and blockchain can have a value add. Building an MVP or a POC is actually quite easy. The challenging part is getting the governance right. So getting the stakeholders to all come together to agree to this new data sharing arrangement and to agree to this new decentralized approach. And I find that stakeholder management is actually the toughest part of any blockchain project we've been involved in. So, with that, I want to leave you with a resource that I encourage you all to read. It was published, I think, a year ago by the Danish Red Cross, Mercy Corps, and Hive Online. And it talks a lot about the applications of DLT technology in the humanitarian sector. It's a bit out of date, especially as blockchain goes, considering how rapidly the technology emerges and changes. But it's still, I think, a great foundational piece if you want to really understand how your technological skills and your interest in blockchain could be relevant to an organization such as ours and many other humanitarian organizations in the development space. And with that, I'm going to end here. We have about 10 minutes for Q&A. I'm going to stop sharing and I will pass it over to Adam maybe to facilitate the Q&A, or Meryl. I don't know if you
Yes,
want to
certainly.
facilitate.
No, no, thank you very much, Kyriakos. That was really insightful, and the work that you're doing is some of the most important in this space. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, feel free to post them in the hackathon chat, or if you have the ability to unmute and ask. I actually had one myself, which is is really cool. Obviously, there are some areas that you're really focusing on, especially um, financial inclusion. But what are you currently looking for from innovative projects at the moment? What is it that really draws your attention in project applications?
Um, that's a great question. So, what we look for is several things. One is traction. So, is this beyond the pilot phase? Two, is the application relevant to the context in which we operate as the World Food Program? So we do get a lot of startups apply from Europe and the US, which is great. But we have to think about the fact that in many places we work, connectivity is low or limited. Energy is sometimes non-existent, so you can't charge your phone even when you have one. Digital literacy is an issue. So these parameters really impact not just a blockchain-based application, but digital technology writ large. So on and off ramps, I think, are a big consideration as well for blockchain in particular, because we've seen a lot of blockchain startups promote their platform as a means for financial inclusion. But at the end of the day, if you cannot buy something with whatever crypto platform you're pursuing, then it doesn't really do us any good, right? And some countries are more mature than others, but even in Europe, how often do any of us buy anything with crypto? Like in terms of like food and stuff for yes, we all trade and NFTs are fun and good, but how often do you actually go buy a coffee with crypto, or buy groceries with crypto, or pay your electricity bill with crypto? So those are the kind of practical matters that we think about, and those are the things that I care about. I also find that a strong team can go a long way. So we really do look at the team composition, and that's also a big reason why we insist that all the teams we support come to the boot camp. It used to be in person, now we do it virtual, but it's also a good way for us to really get to know the team and really assess their strengths and weaknesses. Because for most startups, it really is the team that will deliver value at the beginning, right? Because until you really fine tune your product or your service, it's really the people that are driving value. So that's definitely very critical for us.
No, I completely agree. I think team composition is very important. You have to have that understanding, the knowledge, and also the drive and the commitment. And I think, especially in the food space, I've noticed this, that there is such a passion for working in this industry and helping people. Um, I just had a message. Do you currently have any RFPs or RFCs out that are specific to any real world use cases for the technology?
So we don't have a blockchain specific one, although we are contemplating issuing one next year. But we are always on the look and scouting for promising startups. So if you're part of a startup at the moment, and you think you have a promising solution for some of the challenges that I've outlined, feel free to reach out to me and I can connect you directly with our sourcing team. Our current application is mostly looking at internal teams, but we issue an open call for externals every year. So we're always on the lookout for new teams.
That's amazing. And where's the best place for people to go to get in contact? Do you have is it Facebook, LinkedIn, or the website?
So the website is where we do all our intake applications. So innovation.wfp.org. And if you have a really promising idea, you can forward it to Adam, who has my email, and he can put us in touch. So I'll let Adam be the gatekeeper.
I really appreciate the trust. Um, no, thank you very much. And I've got to say, like already just from speaking to people today, some of the teams involved, there are some really amazing, innovative ideas. So I'll definitely put you in touch with some people who are creating some amazing things. Do you have any advice for any of the teams with the hackathon from your hackathon experience?
Yes. The more practical, the better. And definitely try to partner with people that have complementary skills than your own. We tend to gravitate to people that are like us, but generally, complementary skills go a long way. I did want to mention, however, we are also hiring for a blockchain venture consultant. So if you're interested to work for us, let me know because we are recruiting. I think the application will be open for another week. So if you have a blockchain background and a business or strategy background, that's the profile we're looking for. So I welcome all of you to apply. Come join my team. It's awesome work, very exciting work, and very rewarding work.
Awesome. Were there any other questions from the community at all?
Really quick, you would not be able to speak here. Please just ask in community chat if you have a question, and I would unmute you, and then you would be able to interact.
We have one more question, I think. No? I love technology. Okay. Well, we're running a bit short on time. We've got 2 minutes left. But yeah, Kyriakos, thank you so much for stopping by and sharing the work that you're doing and how startups and individuals can get involved in this space, because it's as you know from chatting to me previously, like it's something that's very close to my heart as well, and it's putting an emphasis on the human side of things, the the fact that it's people we're helping with this technology, and that's always something that's important to keep in your mind. We're not just building tech for the sake of tech. We're building tech to help the world, to help the future of our food, basically.
Well
So
said.
thank you
Well
so
said,
much.
Adam. Absolutely. No, thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. And yes, I'm really excited to see a whole community that is engaged in this space. I think it's super valuable and it gives me hope and optimism for the future. With that, have a lovely Friday evening or morning, depending on where you guys are calling in from, and a lovely weekend.
Thank you very much, Kyriakos.
Ciao,
Ciao.
ciao.
Okay, that was Kyriakos, and that was amazing. We've got